would you please welcome to the online stage, it's Jay Saunders, everyone.
Thank you. Look, we've been talking about birthdays, and I've just ended up going through my 52nd birthday. And look, you see somebody of my age, somebody of my pedigree, and you're going to make loads of assumptions, aren't you? Sex god probably isn't at the top of the tree. I mean, most women look at me and go more like a sex golem. But let's be honest about it. Scientifically speaking, I'm better at sex than the majority of people in this room. I mean, come on. I've been doing it for longer than most of you people have been alive. And yes, I've made a few mistakes. But unlike you lot, those mistakes are a dim and distant memory. I mean, my sexual playlist is now solid gold. I mean, and it's taken me years to develop that physical playlist. I mean, I've got the ultimate physical mixtape, albeit many of the moves I'm using are as dated as the term mixtape, but that's got nothing to do with it. I mean, yes, to really creep you out, I've done things that are still on your sexual wish list. Yeah, I might be old, but that's given me plenty more people to ask, and more importantly, loads more time to try and convince them. And actually, because I am quite naive, let them convince me. So let's just accept it. Let's just accept it. I've got more knowledge and experience than any of you young whippersnappers in this room. And I had to learn the old-fashioned way. I mean, back at the time of my sexual awakening, there was no such thing as online porn. The best we could hope for was finding a softcore magazine in a hedge somewhere. I mean, if you were looking at and by today's standards, compared to the magazines that are out there today, Tame, they make a guide dog for the blind look rabid. I mean, they didn't have toys. There was no penetration. There was no actual sex. I mean, if you did stumble on a harder magazine, if there was a penis, it was flaccid. I mean, the only place you could buy a magazine that had an erect penis in it was from a licensed sex shop. Now, I want you to understand that term, licensed sex shop. It made it sound like you had to pass a test before you were allowed to stick parts of you into somebody else. Then there was even a law. There was even a law about the maximum angle of a dangle a gentleman's wanger was allowed to be in these magazines. And trust me, it was severely below the horizontal. I mean, it made 45 degrees look bloody impressive. And that was not healthy to a young teenage boy. I was terrified that when I got excited, my willy bent the wrong way. I was worried the first time I was with a woman, she saw my erect penis, I was going to have to do a handstand so it was pointing in the same direction as the rest of the guys in the magazines. But the magazines that you could get access to, you were never going to see anything in them anyway. Not because of pornography laws, no, just the quantity of pubic hair. I mean, a woman could have had one leg pointing east, the other one pointing west, and you were never going to see anything because of the size of the knicker afro they had down there. I mean, even the Viet Cong had less well-hidden hide holes than were displayed in those magazines. These women, I mean, how they were capable of stuffing more hair than you'd see on an untrimmed poodle into a skimpy pair of briefs is beyond me. I mean, these women should have been packing larger groin bulges than you'd find on an Olympic swimmer with a pair of King Edward potatoes stuffed into his Speedos. And yes, I'm more than aware that the subject of pubic topiary has become somewhat of a controversial subject with the advent of things like Brazilians and Hollywoods. That's full pubic deforestation, if you didn't know. I mean, it's bred this new form of neo-feminism, where they turn around to any woman that decides to trim that area and they go, why do you want to look like a little girl? I'm sorry, that argument falls over on two factors for me. I mean, number one, it's a woman's choice to do with whatever she wants to do with the hair that grows down there, rather than try and put some cul-de-sac to allege that every bloke is a pedo. But the one that really gets me is, why am I constantly seeing adverts for IMAC and Gillette promoting you to get completely hair-free legs and display your little girl legs to the public? I mean, are you trying to say, yes, ladies, prove you're a real woman by showing your hairy armpits to everybody every time you wear a low-slung top? Seriously? You're allowed to show hair-free armpits and perfectly shaved legs, but to be a real woman, you've got to have some form of pant beard? I mean, I'm sorry. Trim or don't trim, shave or don't shave. It's like manscaping, right? I'm in my 50s now. I do it. I mean, it's not a preserve of you millennials. I mean, just because the contents of my pants have entered their 6th decade doesn't mean that I don't appreciate the aesthetics and benefits it's going to give me. I mean, aesthetics. All right, I'm never going to pretend I've got a beautiful example. But having a damn good short back and size down there is going to prevent it from looking like a Tesco's value sausage trying to escape from an out-of-control gorse bush. And benefits. Look, it's been a long time, I'll admit it, but I still live in hope that a lady would like to pleasure that area some point in the future. And if she's willing to do that, why on earth am I going to inflict an unwanted flossing session on her? I blame the sex education I got back in my days. Remembering it, I'm 52. Sex ed in my day was pre-AIDS. I mean, chlamydia was a pasta dish your dad would refuse to eat because it was foreign muck. We used to get this. We used to get this embarrassed PE teacher because, of course, because you know how to teach football, you're obviously the expert in talking about physical intimacy. He was showing you cross sections of human bodies, going, this bit goes in there, and if you're lucky, a baby is made. I mean, most of our sex ed was just talking about the pain of childbirth. I mean, what? They were trying to convert every woman into being a mental contraceptive. And you couldn't talk to parents of my generation. I'll finish off with the truth, a true story about me and my dad, the most intimate conversation we ever had. He dropped me off at university, turned around to me and went, son, if you don't want to go swimming, don't get in the ocean. I don't know where it came from. I was an 18-year-old lad. I went, yeah, but Dad, what if I fancy a paddle? He grabbed me by the collar and went, wear your fucking wellies. And that is the basis of my entire sexual knowledge. You've been brilliant. Thank you so much.
Well, I don't actually have any Elvis references or jokes, other than I think he'd probably get the award for